All right, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Be Continued here in Metuchen. Great to see everybody on a beautiful Saturday afternoon. Good to kind of get things back. Lights are coming back on. Life kind of getting back to normal a little bit for everybody, right? Good to come out and good to see everybody here today. I'm Bert Barron from the New Talk Radio, 1450 WCTC, the voice of Central Jersey. Certainly hope everyone has checked out WCTC. I do a daily talk show Monday to Friday called 1 to 3 called New Jersey Today, and I certainly hope you take a few moments and take a peek at that. Before we begin today's program, I just want to remind you we have your chance to win some Broadway tickets. Make sure you sign up for the chance to win those. Also, I've got a pair of tickets for the Rutgers Women's Home Opener on Wednesday night, so sign up for the chance to win those too. Also, grab your very own snazzy WCTC cold drink cup. It turns clear when it gets room temperature, and then back to red when you put your favorite beverage in it. So make sure everybody grabs one of those on their way out, okay? Earlier this week, I had the privilege and pleasure of interviewing today's guest on my show. We had so much fun over the course of the hour. I hope you had a chance to listen to that. If not, you can go to the website and give it a listen on the podcast. But what a great hour it was, and what an incredible story it was. I told the story of my wife saying, "Will you put that book down already?" It was Memorial Day weekend. Like, you and that book, what's going on with that? But I just couldn't put it down. And once you take a look at it, you're going to do the same thing as well. So without further ado, let me introduce our good friend from New Jersey, the author of The Boss Always Sits in the Back. Put your hands together for John D'Amore.
Hi. Okay. Well, like Bert said, good afternoon. And thank you very much for coming out to hear about my book. As it says, hold up book. The boss always sits in the back. Now, you gotta make this fun. I'll tell you why you gotta make this fun. Because for the last 13 years, I've lived in Los Angeles, and I was traveling across the country doing these signings. And I was 250 miles east of here last Monday. Or the Monday, I should say, that you had a deal with Sandy. So in all honesty, sometimes I feel that I should be sitting out in the audience and you should be here telling us the stories of what you had to do to deal with it and the people that you know and your families. So believe me, I am extremely grateful that you came out here tonight. So, everybody please turn off your cell phones. Ladies, put them on pleasure. I'd like to begin with a few words about what caused this story to be written and why it's so important to me. From an early age, I was taught the meaning of the word respect. And foremost, that respect was to be shown to my family. My parents, grandparents, aunts and uncles, and my cousins, of which I have many. Of course, at that time, I had no idea that respect and family would lead to such unbelievable events during certain slices of my life. Up until my 40s, there were two very important men in that life. My father and my oldest cousin, who at my baptism became my godfather. I had no idea how strong the bond with these two men would become. A bond that had little to do with the same blood that ran through us, but instead it was a bond linked to the culture we were raised within. A culture that came with a code of ethics, rules, love, honor, and as always, respect. I'd eventually learn that adhering to this code could provide one with security, safety, and the respect of those around you. I also learned that to stray from that code could cause one to disappear faster than the time it would take to eat a slice of pizza. I knew these people were unique to our society, and I believed they needed to be written about. They needed to be immortalized. The only problem was that these people didn't like to be written about, but they loved the idea of being immortalized. It's with this in mind that I present to you the opener for The Boss Always Sits in the Back, a short chapter called Huh? It's for those who don't have a clue as the kind of culture I was just talking about. It's to fill you in on a few things you need to know in order to understand what it was like to grow up Italian in Hudson County during the great eras known as the 1950s, 60s, and 70s. I'll follow that up with the first chapter, and I'll tell you what, normally I only do that first chapter, but if you feel like it, I'll read a second chapter after that. That'll be your decision. You might, if you get tired, if I see you sleeping. Oh, okay. So there you go. Huh? Like all children, I was influenced by the things around me during the formative years. Some children grow up in a family of doctors, lawyers, investment bankers, owners of small and large businesses, police chiefs, insurance salesmen, stockbrokers, corporate executives, or small town and big city politicians. If something went wrong in their family, they usually blamed it on families like mine, or they came to families like mine for help. In my immediate family, there were no doctors, lawyers, investment bankers, and so on. This is my story based on actual events of living on the fringe of what some people call the mafia. You see, several members of my immediate family were connected. Connected simply means that through blood, honor, or business, you have a direct connection to the Cosa Nostra, the mafia, our thing, La Familia, the mob. And those members of my family made a very comfortable living for many, many years through this affiliation. I thought about becoming more involved when I was in my early 20s, but at the time it was the mid-1970s. I was a professional musician and having too much fun living the rock and roll lifestyle. I was living every dream of most of my high school and college buddies, and at the time that mattered. So why would I want to cut my hair, wear dark suits and ties, and take the chance of getting whacked? Instead, I decided to watch the guys from the sidelines. I was able to enjoy the best of a few worlds. I was having my little slice of rock and roll success. I had a great social life and family life. I got to play with my connected relatives, and I also got to hang with the boys from Hudson County. I got to be a part of the games, the hustles, the respect, the scams, the federal investigations, the women, the stories, the parties, and the cash. I got to do some wild things, and I got to meet some very unique and interesting people. A lot of them aren't with us anymore. Most of them are dead. A couple of them had to leave the area and can't, shouldn't, don't ever want to come back. Some are in state and federal penitentiaries, and will be for years. A few of them were able to survive. I run across a few of the survivors from time to time. And then there's my family. Round one. Christ, I hate flying, especially after all the time I spent in the air since the early 1970s. It was Friday, October 9th, 1998. It would have been John Lennon's 58th birthday. There I was, sitting alone in the back of a 9-passenger stretch, clad in jeans, a pair of sneakers, and a knitted sweater that I had picked up in Laguna Beach a few weeks earlier. I opened a rear window, slid on my sunglasses, looked outside, and lit a joint as the limo headed down New Jersey's Garden State Parkway to get me to Newark International Airport for my 9:35 a.m. flight. I was never very good with alcohol, so an occasional joint always took off the edge when I was on my way to an airport. Besides, it was only 8 in the morning, much too early for a martini. As part of my job, I had to fly. A lot. At the time, I was working for a very large New York insurance company. When I was hired, they wanted someone to work with a market that most corporations and conglomerations have problems relating to: unions. This particular trip was to oversee the company's presence at the largest public employees benefits convention in the country. Over 6,000 representatives were attending, and I, as one of the guest speakers, would be spouting about